Alright, here we go. Question 27 from our Precalculus homework number 11 in MyLab Math. They want us to find the center, transverse axis, vertices, foci, and asymptotes. That's a lot of stuff. And they have given me the equation, and it is not in standard form. So what I want to do first is copy this down in my scratch work, and then we will convert to standard form. Alright, so with our equation copied down over here, we know that this side over here must be 1. So we're going to have to divide by 784 all the way through in order to get this to be in standard form. Now, to figure out what this fraction is going to reduce to, I'm going to use the handy dandy calculator. The Class Whiz does a fantastic job of reducing these fractions. And that gives us 1/49. So that's going to be x squared over 49 minus y squared over 784 equal to 1. And from here, we're going to go to our information sheet and we're going to start answering some questions. Now again, notice that there are two columns, and this column is based on the y squared being in front of the minus. This column is based on the x squared being in front of the minus. So whichever fraction comes first, that's going to determine our transverse axis. And we have this particular setup where it's x squared over a number. So we have a horizontal transverse axis, and all of these formulas apply. Now, if we go back to our MyLab Math and look at what they want first, they want the center of the hyperbola. Now, the center is the ordered pair h comma k, and we can see that in the numerators we have simply x squared and y squared. Since there are no parentheses with a number upstairs, that's going to indicate that the center is at the origin. H and K are both 0. And inputting that with our ordered pair tool, we can see that we are correct. And I had to scroll out just a bit so you could see better, I hope. The transverse axis is along the x or y axis. All right, let's think about this. Our transverse axis is horizontal. Horizontal, that's the way the x-axis runs. So that means that the transverse axis would be along the x-axis since it runs horizontal. The vertices mean that we're going to have to determine the value of a. And we know that a squared, regardless of the transverse axis, is always the first denominator. Taking the square root would give us a is 7, and then plugging into the formula for the vertices for a horizontal transverse axis, that was h plus or minus a comma k. H and k are both 0. And a is 7. So that gives us vertices of plus or minus 7 comma 0. So using our ordered pair tool, and I'm going to try to get away with the plus or minus tool as well. 7 comma 0. Let's see if it accepts it. Yeah. The foci depend on the value of c. Now, in order to get the value of c, we're first going to have to find b, knowing that b squared is the second denominator, and I don't think I need to square root those. I'm going to use the a squared and the b squared. Given our Pythagorean relationship, c squared equals a squared plus b squared, that's going to give us c squared equals 49 plus 784. And then I'm going to need to take the square root of both sides to get the value of c. And what a great time to use the calculator. Square root of 49 plus 784 gives us 7 square root of 17. Notice the Casio gives that in simplest radical form. Now that we know the value of c, we know the formula for the foci in this case, h plus or minus c, comma k. Again, h and k are both 0. And since c is not an integer, we're going to leave that in simplest radical form. Plus or minus 7 square root of 17. And let's go see if we're right. All right, here we go again with the ordered pair tool and trying to get away with the plus or minus tool. 7 square root of 17, comma 0, fingers crossed. Yeah. Asymptotes. So we're going to need to copy and paste our formula for our asymptotes and then do a little plug and play. All right, here we go. We've got our formula for our asymptotes. Knowing that k is 0, we can just eliminate the k. Oh, h is 0, so that'll simplify that down to just x. And then we know that a is 7. What I don't know is b yet, but I can figure that out by taking the square root of 784. And the square root of 784 is 28. And so now that we have a and b, and we've already plugged in for h and k, our asymptotes are going to be y equals plus or minus 28 over 7x. But that'll reduce. 7 goes into 28 4 times. And there's my asymptotes. Now notice in the MyLab Math window, it already has y equals plus or minus. All you've got to do is fill in whatever the plus or minus is. Well, it's plus or minus 4x. So we just need to fill in the 4x, and we're done. And again, we're going to have to pick the appropriate graph. Notice that answer choice B and C both have a horizontal transverse axis. Answer choice A does not have a horizontal transverse axis, and I don't even know what's going on with answer choice D. It looks like all they've graphed is the asymptotes. And it clearly says graph the hyperbola, not just the asymptotes. So it's going to have to be either answer choice B or C, depending on which one has the correct vertices. Now the scale across the x-axis from the origin to the edge is 50, meaning that each hash mark is 10. And we know that our vertices, if we scroll back up, were plus or minus 7, 0. So for answer choice B, the vertices are bigger than 10. Here it's less than 10. So it's going to have to be answer choice C with the correct transverse axis and vertices. And that's going to do it for this particular problem. So if you have any questions or comments about anything covered in this video, please feel free to leave those in the comments section below, or you can text me, and thanks for watching.